Welcome back to Luck on Sunday, and we're going to start focusing on the flat season and what some people believe has been a very good one in certain respects and perhaps a little bit below par in others. One or two horses have disappointed, but others have risen to the occasion quite magnificently. But we start this segment with some rather sad news, the loss of rather sad news, very sad news, the loss of ruling court to laminitis. A horse who dazzled in the early part of the season, still showed in the eclipse what a high-class horse he is. But it's a devastating blow for the industry, devastating blow for Godolphin. In fact, it's the second Guineas winner that they've lost in the last 5 years. It's very, very sad.
Yeah, it was really shocking news as well. So often laminitis is a sort of can be a kind of secondary complication after a horse has had an injury and perhaps on box rest or what have you, but it just seemed to, well, it came out of the blue to the public, I suppose. I mean, I'm sure they've been battling with him at home and trying to do everything they can to save him, I'm sure, because he's obviously a classic winner and would have been a stallion prospect. So it's a huge blow to them and to the racing season generally to lose a horse of that calibre. Yeah,
at the start of the season, Steve, we were filled with so much hopes for what those horses would do in the Guineas, and Ruling Court was brilliant in the Guineas.
Absolutely.
It was his ability to quicken that probably caught Field of Gold out more than as much as anything else.
That's exactly what it was. They were quite close, and he quickened more quickly than Field of Gold. Yeah, absolutely. It's just a feeling of well, not finding on both levels. For the racing career, he had still much more to give, and as a prospect for stallion duty in the future. Again, it's just really sad. It happened, but it's really sad.
Yeah. A bit of positive news regarding Field of Gold after his injury after the Sussex Stakes. It appears that he's back cantering and possibly heading to the QE2. If that is the case, it's good news for the race. Obviously, good news that he's back and ready to compete. What do we deduce from the Sussex Stakes and what Field of Gold and his position of the season? Still the best miler we've seen. Still the horse to beat if he's at his best?
The best mile performances, definitely. I mean, the Irish Guineas and the St James's Palace are the best mile performances. I don't think there's any question about that. And what the future holds, who knows? QE2, yeah, they may not want really wet QE2. I don't know, because I know they were certainly on record last year of saying they thought soft ground didn't help him on Arc Day last year. But yeah, he was really good at Ascot, really, really, really good. And in a year where most of the milers have been, I know we're going to touch on this later, but of similar standard, a lot of them, certainly a lot of the older milers, he looked like he was going to be just that level above them. Things went wrong in the Sussex Stakes, as it can happen with racing.
How good a horse has he proven to be already to this point, Emma?
Well, thrilling to follow so far, and of course, because he's been so exciting, the Sussex came as a bit of a blow. I mean, everyone was disappointed, but who knows, he was obviously found to be lame after that, but, whether there's been something sort of slightly niggling away that hadn't come to the fore ahead of that, you just don't know. And now it will be obviously softly to get him back to his absolute best. He's obviously a very exciting stallion prospect for whenever he does eventually go to stud, and they will certainly want him to go out on a high, whether that's this year or hopefully next year. I mean, it'd be lovely to see him back in training next year. We saw what a great boost it gave to the sport when Frankel stayed in training at 4. So it's not that Juddmonte haven't done that before, and they have a very strong stallion lineup already. So I hope we'll see him next year, as long as this injury doesn't prove to be something that flares back up. Hopefully it won't. They won't risk running him if there's any doubt, I'm sure.
I'm sure John and Thady Gosling would have been frustrated after the Sussex Stakes that they've had this injury to deal with, get him back though. But I don't think there's a more frustrated trainer in the country when it comes to milers than Richard Hannon. He's had more questions to deal with regarding Rosallion than most, primarily because on a number of occasions there have been excuses made for the horse. The horse hasn't made those excuses. He's run well, but he hasn't quite delivered what a lot of people thought he would do. Where do you stand on Rosallion right now, especially after that run at York?
I'm jury's still out. I'd still love to believe he can come back and win another big one. I mean, he was such an exciting horse last year, and then his season was curtailed. So I'd still love to believe. I mean, you know, he hasn't been far away this year. It's just, as you say, been incredibly frustrating, probably for no one more than his trainer and his owner and breeder. So, yeah, I'm prepared still to believe that we can see the Rosallion of old.
Yeah, well, like Field of Gold, he won the St James's Palace and the Irish Guineas last year. Steve, what are your...
You are a thoroughly unpleasant man, Michelle. The only reason you've invited me on here was because you hope I'd say something not pleasant about Rosallion, which I'm not going to do. You really are not a nice man. I'm a sceptic. I suppose what I think about him is that in the end we have horse races to find out who the best horses are, and you can say he needed the race in the Greenham, perfectly legitimate. You can say he was unfortunate on the nod at Ascot. You can say that among horses he was not well positioned at Sussex Stakes, and you can say that the trip was too short and he didn't have a great trip in the City of York. But the sum total is, I think his reputation is slightly above what he's actually done. That's my opinion, and I think he needs to go and win a race. I've no question he's one of the best milers around, and there's him, Notable Speaks, Lead Artist, Derrick's and Gemini. They're all very, very good horses. Yeah. Is one of them much better than the others? On evidence at the moment, I'd say no. And if you want to talk about unlucky, I think Notable Speech was unlucky in France recently. Yeah. Maybe he would have won by a length and a half, and we'd be saying he's the best miler. I think the talking's got to stop, and he's got to go and win a race. I genuinely hope he does, whatever you might think, but I'm not going to be horrible about him. I think his reputation is stronger than his form. That's what I think.
Yes, it's fair. I don't think there's anyone that can argue with that. And of course, if anybody does have
you are a horrible man.
No, just saying,
what do you think, Rishi? What's your honest opinion? Not because you're going to interview Richard Allen next week or you're going to meet the owner. What's your honest opinion of what Rosallion is?
I'm disappointed he hasn't won this season. The first race, I expected better in the Lockinge, primarily because I believed exactly what Connection said, that he'd done a lot of work and he was ready to roll. So I was disappointed he didn't get closer. Okay, the Queen Anne, I felt that on the day he was a little bit unlucky because I think he tracked Carl Spackler, and Carl Spackler only took him that far. Fortunately, Docklands on the other side. He was in front of Docklands after the line, but it doesn't matter. And of course, he was unlucky in terms of the way the race unfolded in the Sussex. But he did best of everyone else. And then last time out was the one that I said to you before the race. I was surprised they were dropping him back to 7 furlongs on fast ground at York. They felt that 7 furlongs on fast ground, he produced 2 excellent performances in France and when he won the Pateterie at Ascot. But he was always at it, I felt. Back at a mile in the Breeders' Cup, I'll still give him a chance. I won't desert him.
OK. So he said exactly the same thing. You've just been more political about it.
Yes. No, I love the horse a lot. So.
I hope I genuinely, it'd be great if he won the British Cup. But seriously, that would be a great result. It would.
Emma, where do you stand? Still a believer?
Yeah, I mean, I still think he could pull one out of the bag. I mean, right. if there had, we're talking millimetres really in the Queen Anne, yeah. And it would be a very different scenario had he just got his head in front of Docklands. So I definitely think back to a mile, and let's hope we're seeing him land one more Group 1 before he perhaps goes off to stud.
Studio at racingtv.com if you have a view on any of the horses that we've spoken about thus far, and the ones that we will speak about as we look forward to horses that will have bigger targets but have already achieved a lot this season. None more so than Ombudsman, who has been a wonderful horse this season. Obviously, he got beaten by Almaqam on his return, but it promised a lot. He gave weight away. It was his first run of the season. And since then, he's done very little wrong. I know he got beaten in the Eclipse, but wins either side of it have been hugely impressive, particularly last time out.
Yeah.
Tell me about this performance, Emma.
It's still a race where even watching the replay, you're still thinking,
who's that horse?
Oh my God. And, but to make up the ground he did and then go on as he did was, I think, incredibly impressive. And yeah, what a thrilling horse he is. You know, he's already thrilling, but I just still feel there's more to come. I love the way he's sort of been coaxed into this top level, and he's seriously impressive, yeah. And yeah, he may well be part of his Night of Thunder perhaps becoming champion sire for the first time by the end of the year. He's having an amazing season. But Ombudsman, very much his flagship horse. He's going presumably to the Irish champion, is he?
Yeah.
And that's going to be, well, yeah, very exciting to watch.
But 10 furlong horses, Steve, I've always been biased towards. I love that ability to go that distance, but also have a turn of foot. He's got that. He's got everything you want in a top-class 10 furlong horse.
I think he's got the best form, older horse form in Europe, personally. I think too much was made. We have talked about this before. I think too much was made, or it was oversimplified. What about the winner Ascot, about the pace collapse? Absolutely true. When you talk about Los Angeles, you talk about the pacemaker. But there were the horse who was second, was a very good horse. I've gone blank. Thing of Owen Burrows. Sorry, who's a very good. Was given the perfect ride, as was Ombudsman, as was the French horse who was fourth. And I thought he fully justified his 127 mark or whatever he got from the BHA that day, using those horses. Whereas I think he had legitimate excuses in the Eclipse, which was a completely messy race. He was pushed wide early on. He got there too soon. And that's not a criticism of the jockey, just the way the race panned out. Utterly different. I thought York was a pretty true reflection between him and Delacroix. If you watch the race again, I know it was a funny race. Delacroix is about 2.5 lengths behind him, turning for home, being pushed along, but behind Ombudsman. At the line, after 4 furlongs of the horses sprinting, Ombudsman is a little bit further ahead. There's no question on the day, and there's no question in my mind, he's the better of the 2 horses. What happens in Ireland, I don't know. It'll be an away fixture. If it were mine, I wouldn't go for the Irish champion. I think it reeks of. He may not have a wonderful trip.
Team tactics.
Well, you know, we're talking about a master trainer here. They all have a plan to try and get. Again, it's not a criticism. I'm just not sure that would be personally the ideal target for him. But he has lit up the season, in my opinion.
Well, I would love. I'm excited actually by the Irish champion. We've seen so many great editions of the Irish champion where it's Coolmore against Ballydoyle. Of course, it's John and Thady Gosden with the Coolmore horse, with the Godolphin horse against the Coolmore team. But it would be fascinating to see him go there. You remember, obviously, with Cedar Stars, they threw everything at him. They're going to come with everything they can against. Will they come with Whirl against Ombudsman? Do you think? Will they have a go with Whirl in the Irish champion?
Possibly, yes, because I suppose they're going to want to keep her away from Minnie Hauk to a degree. So, yes, I mean, that's an obvious target for her, and she's good at both 10 and 12. So, yeah she's an interesting opponent, certainly.
Yes. Well, Minnie Hauk has also got an entry in that race, but we presume she'll be kept to 1.5 miles?
I'm thinking so, yeah.
And of the... I could just talk about the Aidan O'Brien 3-year-olds. But of the 3-year-olds that we've seen this season, where would you put Minnie Hauk, Emma?
She's arguably the best. I mean, she's just been fabulous, hasn't she? I really hope she goes for the Arc, and as we know, fillies have such a good record in the Arc, but she's magnificent to watch, she's magnificent to look at, and yeah, I think she's just getting better and better.
Steve, the thing about her that's so that you warm to, it's just how uncomplicated she is. Absolutely.
Yeah, I got there much later with her. She probably is the best around. I found this a really fascinating race because I think Estrange is a very good filly in second. Might turn out that 1.25 miles is her best. It might be. I certainly think softer ground. I think I wouldn't dismiss her winning a big race in the autumn. I really wouldn't. Minnie Hauk just kept going and kept going. Is it just throw it at you? Is it totally impossible she turns up in the Ledger?
Minnie Hauk?
Well, I mean, Aidan is Aidan. He's got a lot of horses. When I look at the Ledger, I think he can do what he wants here, Aidan O'Brien. He's got so much control over the race with Scandinavian, Lambourne. Minnie Hauk is still in the next declaration. She was kept in.
I think she'd bolt up if she went for that. I think she's the best of the 3. I think 1.6 miles would be up her street, personally.
That's the point. I mean, as somebody who backed Scandinavian after a won at Newmarket, at a good price, no. Yeah. And look at the race. I'm thinking that's where your threat is.
If the race is as it is now, with what we believe, I'd say Scandinavia will probably win. If Minnie Hauk went for it, I'd be with Minnie Hauk.
Absolutely.
But would you imagine that Aidan would look at those horses and go, OK, Scandinavia, Lambourn and Minnie Hauk, which of those three would have the best chance in the Arc? You would probably say Minnie Hauk?
Yeah.
Yeah? And probably that would mean she wouldn't go for the Leger?
Probably.
And
Aidan can do lots of interesting things.
Aidan, if you want to email in, studio@racingtv.com, and let us know what you want to do with Minnie Hauk. Be specific what race she's going to go for. A couple of other horses I want to mention to you. Again, one trained by Aidan O'Brien, Diego Velazquez, who got his Group 1 last time out. Obviously, Sangster colours now, and what the rest of the season could have for him. Obviously, he's now been purchased by them. It's exciting for them.
It really is, and this is, I think, a stroke of genius by Sam Sangster to have. Obviously, he has very close ties with the Magna family and with Ballydoyle, going way back, right to the foundation of Coolmore through his father. But he's on the board of the National Stud, and it's very hard for the smaller studs to compete against the really big operations like Juddmonte, Godolphin, what have you, for stallion prospects. The National Stud's always on the lookout, as are so many other studs, for their next big stallion. And Sam's identified this horse. He's done the deal with the Coolmore partners to buy him. And in his first start, as you see there, those lovely silks that we all love seeing. Yeah. Fabulous result in the Jacques de Marat at Deauville. There was real scenes of joy, actually, there on the day. All of the Coolmore team are there, of course, and Sam and a lot of the new partners in the horse. And there was this real genuine feeling of, we're thrilled for you, even though we've, in theory, let a Group 1 go. But they've had great success with this whole family. He's a brother to Point Lonsdale and Broome, and it's a terrific family. And for the National Stud, he's going to be there next year. It's a real coup to have the son of Frankel, a Group 1 winning miler, a really good-looking horse who's a very expensive yearling for good reason. He's lovely. So good on Sam for getting that deal done for the National Stud. And I think really his main aim is to go to the Breeders' Cup.
Yes.
Where he'll go before that, I don't know, but that would be really exciting to see him over there. And
as you say, on the pedigree side, it's great to see a horse like that finding a place in the National Stud. Steve, one horse I want to mention to you, and you've already alluded to him, is Almaqam, who I think people still, or connections still, have hopes that he could have a big end to the season, primarily because of the ground. And of course, the best of his form puts him right in the mix, although the last run was, for me, a bit disappointing, even though the ground would not have been ideal. I
think the even though is important, Rishi, I do. There's a man who's prepared to accept 7 films being too sharp for Rosallion, but not forgive a horse who is palpably wants some cut in the ground and actually hasn't had his ground all year. The race at Sandon, the Brigadier Gerard, it's not controversial. By the end of the season, it'll be the highest rated Group 3 in Europe.
Well, sparing your blushes, I think you said at the time that you thought this, you said you thought this race was going to...
Doesn't take much picking. I mean, it's just true. It just is. He's beating, admittedly on his seasonal reappearance, but a very good horse in Ombudsman. He pulled right away from the others. And even this race, it's officially good, and it just about was good on time.
Yeah.
York, we're going to look at in a minute, the ground was officially good. It was 3 seconds below standard, which it was not good ground. It was good to firm ground, minimum that day. On a sharp track, on good to firm ground, he's run well. I'm not saying he's the greatest horse ever, but he hasn't had his ground. He just couldn't quicken this day on condition which didn't suit him. If he runs in, he was tipped up by Tom Segal for the Arcs. Yeah. I thought it's not the worst 50-1 chance of all time. In the chance you get a wet October, or you've got races like the Champion Stakes. When he gets his ground, I think he's a Group 1 horse. Now, whether there's a better horse, fair enough, but he will be absolutely in any company, in his conditions, I think he would run very, very well. And it was lovely to see the close relation yesterday. It said, also remind people that soft ground, I do think for that family is quite important. And
one thing I kept saying after that race at York is that the winner on that ground, on those conditions, on occasions, is very, very good, Royal Champion. So I'm more forgiving. I'm hoping that Almaqam will come to his absolute best in soft ground at the end of the season. Okay, you happy?
Very generous.
All right. A brief word about the 2-year-olds, if that's okay. Royal Fixation is a filly that has only been beaten once, but it came at the hands of a very, very good horse in Venetian Sun. How good do you think she is? You saw her win in the Lauder. How impressed were you with that performance, Emma?
Very, and as you say, the form is now looking incredibly strong. Venetian Sun having gone on and won again since then, her Group 1. So those two fillies, just a lot of the season, the end of the season is going to hang on how good they, continue to be. And interestingly, both by first season stallions in Starman and Palace Pier. So very interesting from that angle, from people who like to follow the sort of first season sires race. But no, she looks incredibly smart, and this was just a very solid performance, wasn't it?
She's very physically, she's very similar to Palace Pier in the way she, she's got the little star on her forehead, and the way she carries herself is quite similar to him, which is a good sign that he's stamping his stock. How impressed have you been by this filly in particular, Steve?
I really think the Lowther was a strong race this year. Very impressed, same as Emma. I think she's got a turn of foot, hasn't she? But I really like the second as well. So they'll go what routes they'll go, I don't know. The Colberg filly, you could argue, is some of the best form around, gone on to win in France next time out. She's a top filly. I'd love her and Royal Fixation to meet again. Because I think there is an argument, and I'm only putting it up as a possibility, that she had a bit too much to do the day at Newmarket where she came second. Whether she did or didn't, I don't know. But I wouldn't be certain the form would be confirmed. It might be, but they're two high-class fillies, and to meet in a Cheveley Park or something on good to firm ground would be worth travelling to see. And I think.
Okay, so they meet in the Cheveley Park. Who's going to win, Venetian Sun or Royal Fixation? Good to firm ground.
Can I go for a dead heat? That's sitting on the fence, isn't it? I think we've still got more to see from Royal Fixation.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I'd edge that way myself, but happy to be wrong. I just think it'd be a great race to see. Racing's all about meetings and challenges, and that would be a great one to see. And there'll be other horses. I'd say the runner-up, I think, is a potentially really high-class horse.
Can I ask you about Constitution River? We're always trying to identify who is going to be Aidan's leading two-year-old. Constitution River put himself in the mix with this performance in the Futurity. Emma, what sort of level are we talking about here?
It's always hard to gauge, isn't it, at this time of year? I mean, this, again, a very solid performance, and you hope he's going to really come on from this. I always think it's never wise to get too carried away by horses, and yet all you can do so far is admire what he's done. Certainly on pedigree, he absolutely should be coming forward and being a proper, solid group horse for the future, but I'm sure he'll be at the forefront of their two-year-olds.
Your view on?
Again, I'm just agreeing with everything. It's hard to know exactly. But I do like, it's related to David Memoisier's, is it Wonderful?
Yeah.
You think in time it's going to stay further, isn't it? It looks like it'll stay further. Aidan's probably got five just as good, that's the thing. But at the moment, he would be the Aidan horse that I'm most excited about. But that's it's early days, isn't it?
Watch live racing now on racingtv.com.